Welcome to this introductory guide to speedrunning the 120% category of the original Spyro the Dragon for the PlayStation. This guide is meant for absolute beginners, as well as those who may have completed a few speedruns through the category already, but are trying to find some alternatives to the things they've been doing thus far, and really is aiming to help those people achieve a time below 2 hours. While this guide is meant for absolute beginners, it does however assume that you have a base level knowledge of the game, and that you've completed a 120% run at least once casually. The format of this guide will be chronological, proceeding through each level in detail, in the order in which you should run through them, broken into 6 parts, one for each of the 6 worlds between each balloonist. At the end of each level, depending on the accessibility of what's available, I'll briefly touch on some alternative ways to complete certain sections of these levels in a more optimized way. In the case of the Artisans and Peacekeepers worlds, at the end of these videos I'll touch briefly on alternative routing for the homeworlds themselves to switch up the order of the levels meant for more intermediate players who are slightly more comfortable with the game. Whether your first run is over 3 hours, or 4, or even 5 or 6, there are so many ways to improve in this category and in this game, and your ability to control Spyro and fine-tune his movement is the most important part of this category. Even if you study this guide and other runs for weeks, you will not improve until you get a controller in your hands and practice movement. I'll briefly address a couple of common questions while we get through this opening cutscene. This guide is being created on an emulator, and I'm using the DualShock 4 controller connected to my computer, but this is just for the sake of having save states readily available to demonstrate things multiple times. Most people play the game on a PlayStation 2 with fast disk speed enabled, and there are plenty of other resources out there which go into more depth about all this, but I really want to emphasize, as a beginner, you really shouldn't concern yourself too much with all of this, as long as you have something accessible to get started with. You'll also notice that the input display on this guide shows that I play with a D-pad on the controller. A lot of people play with the joystick, and there really is no advantage or disadvantage to either. Personally, I started running the game using a joystick, but as I got more comfortable with it, I switched to D-pad. Again, there's no right or wrong method here, so just use whichever is more comfortable to you yourself personally. While we rescue Nestor here, who's the only dragon whose cutscene we cannot skip in this run, I'm going to quickly go through the order of the levels we'll be going to in Artisans. First off is Sunny Flight, then to Dark Hollow, we'll see the first boss of the game, Toasty, Stone Hill, and finally Town Square, before we go and talk to Marco the Balloonist. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started. Sunny Flight is located immediately to our left behind the waterfall over here. To access it, we need to touch each of the 5 stones in the water in front of it. As we jump off of Nestor's platform to the left, we want to get on this platform real quick to grab some of these gems. Ideally, we'll pick up all 4 of them, but if we miss 1 or 2, it's not a big deal, as we can grab them quickly once we come back out of here. The best sequence to jump on these stones is in this order. There are fast ways to do this, but for the sake of this guide, we'll just open this slowly, while I mention a couple things that are important to keep in mind before we head in here. First is that in flight levels, Spyro's height will determine his speed. The lower you are to the ground or the water, the faster Spyro goes. Also, in each flight level, there's 4 types of items we need to collect. In this case, trains, arches, planes, and chests. The planes in here are a bit complicated, but I'm going to explain the sequence we want as best I can, but I'm also going to try to keep this quick. As a beginner, it's extremely important that you try to resist the mentality of becoming very reset heavy in Sunny Flight. And what I mean by that is if you do not manage to get the ideal plane cycle here, just do your best to collect what you missed and just finish up the level. If you spend too much time here trying to get the perfect plane cycle, you're just going to drive yourself crazy and you're going to struggle to ever finish a run. There's a lot of time saved to be had from your movement elsewhere in the game, that leaving Sunny later than you'd like is not a huge deal. So, in we go. So as we swoop in here, we're going to head slightly to the right, grab this train right in front of us, take a left, come over to this next train, which lines us up to go up and get this first arch. And as we come into this third train, this is where we start to see the planes. What I'm going to show you is what I have found to be the most consistent method of getting these planes. This is by no means the fastest way to get it, but ideally, if we get these correctly, we will only be making 1 loop around this plane area before heading on to the following arches and finish up the level. So while we back up here, I'll tell you a little bit of what's going on. First point being that there is a sort of cooldown rate between flames. Spyro cannot flame immediately after another one. The flame must finish its animation before you're able to flame again. Second point, when a plane is on screen, it is obviously moving. But when a plane is off screen, when we cannot see it, it is more or less stationary. So by manipulating which planes are on screen when, we will be able to space them out in a way that allows us to flame them in the correct sequence so that we can get through this in one loop. So if you're still with me, what we need to do as we come through this first arch is aim for the third train, but we really need to keep focus on these two planes here. We want to keep these two on screen. First plane we want to hit is the one coming towards us. Second plane we want to hit is the one going away from us. You'll notice as we swing around the corner here, the third plane we're going to hit is also coming towards us. It is the second plane coming towards us. We want to keep that plane far back so that we can flame this second plane in time to cool down our flame and flame that third plane. Now, if you're still with me, we're doing great. It gets easier from here. Those first few planes are the most complicated to explain. So after this third plane, we're gonna get the fourth one right in front of us, lean up a little bit, get that next one going away, then the one coming towards us, the one going away, and that should line us up right next to this arch, which we'll go through. We'll get the last train, swing out, get the last plane. So we'll back that up one more time, show you again in real time how that should look. Again, if you do not get this perfect cycle on your first go, do not beat yourself up about it. Just keep going around till you get what you need, and then get through the arches and we'll finish up the level. So while we watch these planes again, this is a good time to talk about an animation skip at the end of the level. When Spyro collects his last item in a flight level, he begins this long animation where he flies up in the air and the things you collected come and spiral around him. If Spyro collides with something in the environment, either as he hits the final item or during his swing upward, it immediately cancels that animation, goes to the complete screen, and you are able to leave the level immediately. I'll show you as we approach the final item how we're going to do that. As we get the final arch, we take an immediate right into this area with the chests. What most people do is go immediately to the right, get this chest, circle back to the middle one, circle around the room, and as we approach the final chest, we're going to aim for the pedestal that it's sitting on. And as soon as we flame and hit the chest and collide with the pedestal, we should be able to immediately leave the level. So exiting Sunny Flight, we're going to grab the 2 red gems over by the wall in the corner by heading to Spyro's right. And right here is where we're going to encounter the first gem thief of the run. There are only 2, they are both in the Artisan homeworld. To be quick, these guys need to be hit 3 times to drop a total of 5 gems. If we optimize this correctly, we can get it so that we're not chasing him all around the level. Hopefully everything lines up so that we can quickly grab this dragon, collect the gems we need, and get into Dark Hollow, which is in this maze just beyond the dragon. So if we approach this guy from the right side, flame him, grab his gem, you can see he goes right in front of the dragon. So by coming and hitting him again and releasing the dragon, we collect his second gem. And you'll notice if we turn around, he is just directly behind us waiting to be flamed again, which we will do to get the rest of his gems. If you missed any gems on this platform on the way into Sunny Flight, now's a good time to get them. We're going to grab those 3 reds, these 2 on the right side of the maze, and we're going to go into Dark Hollow. Now Dark Hollow is a very straightforward level, but I will be taking my time going through this. I do want to touch on some very important basic movement techniques that we'll see all throughout the run, and it will benefit you greatly. This is a great level to practice a couple of those things I'm going to show you. So directly ahead of us, we can see a key chest up on that platform there. Obviously, we can't get into the key chest without the key, so the optimal way to route this level is to go and get the key first, and then circle back to this area. So we're going to come out the right side, grab these 2 Gnorcs on the way downstairs, which is where the key is. I'm going to flame these 2 big guys. You see I didn't collect his gem yet. We are going to be coming right back by here, so there's no need to wait for them to pick them up on the way down. We'll just get them on the way back up. Now, as we approach this first dragon here in Dark Hollow, this is a good time to mention This is a minimal time save throughout the run, but it does add up, of course. Basically, when you release a dragon, Spyro will begin a walking animation to a predetermined spot. Based on where you touch the dragon's platform, this animation will be either shorter or longer. Here is a quick demonstration of how long it will take based on where we touch the dragon platform. So coming out of this animation, we're going to come down to this platform with the key. Now this is another great opportunity to describe some basic movement tech. Where we're headed from here is straight ahead to this red gem waiting for us. Now if we just stand at the very edge of this platform, jump and glide, we're obviously not going to make that. We're not even close. So to introduce you to a couple of different methods of lengthening your glides, this is going to be invaluable to you throughout the run. So first thing is conserving our momentum into our jump. Basically, if we leave the platform from right on this edge, obviously our glide starts at this point. A little thing you can do is to charge into a jump and bring that momentum forward with you. So if we charge into a jump, obviously we're a little bit further forward than the very edge of that platform. So basically that extends further out where our glide begins. However, you'll notice we're still not quite making it. We're very close, but not quite. One other important thing we can do to lengthen our glides is to charge out of the glide. That gets us a little bit extra length, and in this case gets us up to this platform. Now there is something else we can do as well, which is even more invaluable than any of these combined, is holding forward directionally. This will bring our forward momentum all the way through, and combining all of these things can get us over here. Like the just charge out of the glide, we can do just holding forward, and in this particular spot it gets us over here. We can combine all of these techniques to get maximum length, and that is charging to the edge of the platform, holding forward, and charging out of the glide. Now we just need to clear the rest of this area down here, and something you'll notice through the run is charging upstairs is the fastest way to go up them. If we just jump up the stairs, it obviously takes a bit longer. If we glide up them, also taking a long time. But charging up them is the fastest way to do it. Now that we have the key, we were back in this beginning area. Key animations can be skipped. We're going to quickly just clear over this area, get these last few Gnorcs and this dragon here before we head over to the final area of the level. Now this group of Gnorcs here, the best way to get these guys is to charge through the two on the right, flame the big guy. We're going to turn left because there is a gem over in the corner that way. Hopefully as we turn left and begin to charge, we will hit the Gnorc that is on the far left. This is what it should look like. Now, as I just mentioned, charging upstairs is the fastest way to get up them. However, narrow stairs like this, it is very easy to be bonking them as you're trying to charge up them, and that's just going to push you back, and obviously you're taking a long time here. We have gotten absolutely nowhere yet. For narrow stairs like this, what I like to do is charge into the far corner of the stair, and that's a pretty quick way to get up there. Another important thing to mention is that if you just tap square, Spyro's charge animation will cancel on the same frame that he hits the ground, so that charge, in other words, will stop immediately and will not carry on to the back of the stair. But again, as you just saw, it's still possible and very easy to bonk, so again, I like to aim for the far corner of the stairs as I charge up them. As soon as we're up here, we're going to ignore all of these Gnorcs, take an immediate left, and clear out this platform here. Now this is a great spot to practice the tech we just learned down by the key, which is lengthening our glides. If we charge to the edge of this platform, hold forward throughout the glide, and charge at the end, we should be able to make it right back up here. Worst case, if you don't make it up, just take the stairs. It's not a huge time loss, but again, this is a great place to practice that tech that we just learned. Once we're back up here, whether we got up this way or came up the stairs, we want to go and clear this area down here. We're going to follow these gems back up the stairs and head to this platform on this side. Now, this side is a little bit further away than the other side, so it's a little bit harder based on the tech that we know at this point to get up here. It's possible, but it's a lot tougher. It's a much tighter jump. It can be made, but as you can see, it's pretty tight. A little piece of tech worth mentioning here is what's called a wall glide. Now, a wall glide is not something you're going to see very many times throughout this beginner level route, but it is something very beneficial, especially if you stick around for the end of the Artisans and Peacekeepers world routes. Those alternate routes do require something called a wall glide. Now, a wall glide, if you hit the wall at the proper angle, will give Spyro extra height, which will obviously lengthen your glide. Now, in this particular case, you can see I don't even have to charge out of the glide. Just by hitting the wall at the right angle, it pushes Spyro up here. Again, worst case, if you don't get up here, you can just take the stairs, but this is a great little spot to practice wall glides. Now, to finish up this level here, we're just going to clear it out, collect the dragon, and then we will head over to the gems around the vortex. Now, this level, again, we do want to be sure we are exiting through the vortex. Now, this here is not something I'm going to do for every level, but only for some of the more scattered routes, which is a top-down look at the path you should be taking through the level. Exiting Dark Hollow, we're once again going to head to Spyro's right out of the portal and collect the 2 red gems over on this side of the maze. Stop in the middle, grab this wooden chest, and head up this hill. If you miss one or both of these Gnorcs, it's not a big deal. Don't bother chasing them now. We will be coming right back by here again shortly. Now, this hill is a good place to practice charging out of your glide. It's fun to get kind of as low as you can and see how forgiving that charge out of the glide can be. Once we clear this platform, we're going to head over to this area toward Toasty. These gems right here are kind of laid out a bit randomly. What I like to do is get this red gem and chest, leave the rest for on the way out. Some people do the exact opposite. They'll get that red gem and those 3 wooden chests before getting this dragon. The most important thing here is that you're just getting one set or the other. Don't bother circling around. We'll come back and get them on the way out. Now, this dragon head here, this is why we left Dark Hollow through the vortex. If we had not done so, this dragon head would not have opened and we wouldn't be able to access Toasty. At the end of this video, I'll show you a way to get into Toasty without needing to go through the vortex, but if you're sticking to this route, again, it is really important that you left Dark Hollow through the vortex. Toasty is another really straightforward level. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in here. What I am going to spend the most time on are the dogs. Now, the dogs in this level are one of the few enemies in the game that require multiple hits in order to kill them. In this case, 2 flames. They can't be charged. What I have found is the most effective way of getting these dogs without being squished in between the flames is to jump, and I'll show you what that looks like as we get in here. Now, this is also the first time we're going to be stringing attacks on enemies together. I've done the math on this, and killing 1 dog and 1 shepherd with 2 flames is actually faster than killing the same enemies with 3 flames. So I'll show you again how that looks as we chain the 2 together. Now, landing in Toasty, we're obviously going to grab these 2 gems that are right behind us. Now, as I said, 2 flames will be shorter than 3 flames. So, as you see, if we hit the shepherd with 1 flame, the dog will require 2 flames, 3 flames. If we string those together, 2 flames are faster than 3 flames. Now again, as I said, the most consistent way to get the dogs is to flame jump flame. As you can see, it is possible to get them without leaving the ground, but you kind of have to just mash circle. If you delay just a little bit between your flames, the dog is already in the air. You'll miss him with the second flame. So the safest way to do it is to flame jump flame. We're gonna come ahead, grab these 3 gems, head up to this platform, grab the 2, come over to this corner. Again, we're gonna try to string the enemies together with 1 flame. With dogs, flame jump flame. Stringing enemies together. Follow up here. Now when we're in this room, People do this differently. What we're going to do here in this guide is just go counterclockwise. So we'll flame, jump, flame. Now, I didn't get that enemy at the same time, not a big deal. Now, something I'll talk about here is that some of the dogs in this level, if you trigger them the right way, they will jump off the edge of the platform straight to their death, and the gem will automatically hone into Spyro. Now, obviously, as we mentioned, 2 flames is faster than 3 flames. In the same way, 0 flames is faster than any flames. So, by just jumping at the right angle here, you can see that gem honed in, the dog is gone. This first dog here is a lot easier to trigger than the second one. They are both possible. As you can see, both dogs are gone, and I didn't flame any of them. However, if you miss that second one, it is not a big deal. Even if you miss this first one on the way through, what we're going to do here is flame the dog, grab the chests and the shepherd, turn back, and flame the dog a second time. Now, this first one, I find it personally a lot easier to get him to jump off on the way back than it is on the way in here. So if we aim our jump here, kind of right where Spyro's mohawk is aiming, we can almost guaranteed get that dog to jump off the edge and the gem will hone in. So as we come out here, we're going to grab this shepherd, standing in our way, and grab the dragon. Now the boss fight of Toasty is also very easy. The hardest part about it, as with the rest of the level, are the dogs. There are 3 stages. First stage has 1 dog, second stage has 2 dogs, third stage has 3 dogs, and Toasty will take 1 hit at each of those stages. Now the vortex here, we don't have to leave it. We just generally do in the run because it's so close to the chests that we're going to get. But after leaving Dark Hollow, the next vortex that we have to leave in the run is Gnasty's loot at the very end of the run. Exiting Toasty, we're going to just clean up the remaining gems in this area outside of the dragon head here that we left behind on the way in. Exit this area, and head straight into Stone Hill. Now Stone Hill is going to be the most non-linear level we've seen up to this point in the run. Casual players seem to always leave behind a few gems here, especially the ones scattered up throughout the trees on the top area of the level, but if you stick to the route here, we really shouldn't have much of an issue. This is also going to be the first level that we see one of the 12 egg thieves in the game. These guys can sometimes be a bit of a pain to catch, but thankfully in this run we really shouldn't have to chase any of them for very long. Now before we go into the routing for this level here, I do want to introduce briefly another very important piece of tech, which is a form of flame charging. Now if you pay attention to the input display here, you'll see I kind of roll my thumb from the circle to square button, the flame to charge button. You'll notice that Spyro's flame is pushed forward throughout the animation as we charge. Now this can be used in a whole range of situations throughout the run, and I'm not going to delve too deeply into the complexities of flame charging and all that you can do with it, but definitely take some time getting this down, as it's going to be more or less a necessity for all of the egg thieves in the run, and I'll show you in a bit more detail once we get to that point why it's so important. So with that explanation out of the way, we're going to come back into Stone Hill here, turn around to the left, grab these chests, and we want to go counterclockwise around the room again. Grab these 2 chests, and right here at this fountain is where we're going to see one of the first major skips in the run, and the route for Stone Hill in particular is pretty much dependent on this particular jump here. Now this is how the jump is supposed to look, and this can be a little intimidating to new runners right off the bat, but once you figure out how it works, this is one of the easier skips in the run. What we want to do here is land on this bottom part in a very specific area, pretty much between these 2 points. If you're a little too far to the right, we cannot stand on it. Same thing with being a little too far to the left. I like to aim just to the right side of this front left corner here. Once we are on this bottom section here, we need to obviously get up to the higher area. Spyro will not stand on this top part of the fountain. He will immediately begin that roll animation and just fall right off. But what we really want to do is, as soon as we leave this platform, if you notice in the input display, we just want to hold X as we leave the jump, and provide our directional input, and that will get us right up here. It really is as simple as standing on the right part of this, holding X, and using directional input to get up there. This definitely will take some practice for a beginner, but once you start to understand exactly how it works, it does become one of the easier skips in the run. Once we're up here, we're just going to enter this castle area, circle it counterclockwise to collect all of these green gems. And right here, there is a very small optimization we can make. This is really hardly worth mentioning for beginners, but I only bring it up because it touches on a piece of tech I mentioned in Dark Hollow, which is wall gliding. This is a very forgiving little spot where you can practice them. You can see that lifting our glide, we can easily clear this castle wall. Again, this is a very small optimization and not at all required, but again, it's a nice little spot to practice it. Once out here, we're going to go straight ahead toward these 2 gems in the trees, continue left around here, being careful not to fall down below, pick up the singular red, keep going left, and as we approach these 2 red gems here, you'll notice that just beyond them is the first egg thief that I mentioned. Now, it's important to remember the flame charge demonstration from the beginning of the level. By rolling our thumb from flame to charge, we push our flame hitbox further ahead, which we'll use to our advantage here on the thief. This is probably going to take some practice for you. It's kind of a weird thumb movement if you're not used to it, but you can see that it's pretty essential to quickly catching this thief. If we just try to charge at him like this and miss him, we have to chase him for quite a while before we're even able to try again. But once we have the egg thief, whose animation we can skip, we turn right, crest this hill, and grab the wooden chest. So once we have that chest, we are now going to come down to this area over here. Now this area here, the enemies are quite scattered around. There are a ton of little optimizations you can make down here, but this is generally the route you want to take. Now this will take a few runs probably before you start to really get a sense of where all the enemies are. But once you have the hang of it, it's really not too bad. Definitely want to be sure to come into this tunnel and grab those 3 red gems. And as we approach the tower here, we see one of the first whirlwinds in the run. There are a lot of small optimizations that can be done with whirlwinds as well. You can see if we just walk into it like that, there's kind of a pause at the bottom of the whirlwind where Spyro just kind of hung in place before he started to be lifted. Something we can do here is carry our momentum into the whirlwind by jumping into it. Once we're up here, we turn left and grab the dragon. There is a gem and chest up on this platform that we're going to grab very quickly. Head back toward the dragon platform, and we are aiming for the 2 red gems over here. Once we grab those 2 red gems, we go left and over to these 3 red gems, which are the final gems along the top area of Stonehill. From here, we can see the beach down below, which is exactly where we're headed. Turn immediately left into the cave and grab the key and these 4 chests. Circle out here, being sure to grab those gems, and we see another whirlwind here. Now, as we come up to this dragon, I may as well briefly mention another small optimization that we can use throughout the run. One way to get the chests up here is to drop out of our glide and charge into that one before hitting the dragon. This will allow us to, out of the dragon animation, hold square and X, which is the fastest way to leave a dragon animation. Another alternative here is to come out of the whirlwind charging straight to the dragon. And then roll to Spyro's left. This lines us up perfectly with the chest right ahead of us to charge straight through to the second chest. This is an incredibly small optimization, but just something worth keeping in mind. Clearing this room puts us back in the beginning area of the level, where we're going to go straight ahead to charge this bull, turn right, grab these 2 gems. One thing we are going to try to do here in this room is to hit this second set of chests, both rows at the same time. Definitely speeds things up to make only 1 pass through this room, but if you do miss one, just go ahead and grab it before you grab the dragon. After the dragon, we're just going to turn around and head out the hallway we came in. And one thing I like to do here as we enter the well, instead of just jumping into it, which is a bit slow, I like to come just over the crest of this little hill here, glide for a moment, and charge down into the well. Grab the 3 reds and the key chest, rescue the dragon. And since we are no longer required to exit the levels through the end of level vortex, what we're going to do is pause, press up, and exit level. Exiting Stone Hill, it may be tempting to go for the 2 Gnorcs standing directly outside the portal here, but what we're going to do instead is ignore them for now, and we're going to head straight up these 3 platforms to collect the gems sitting on top. Don't forget the 2 singular reds waiting over here, and then go into the tunnel toward Town Square and rescue the dragon at the other end. To get on top of the 3 towers here on either side of the Whirlwind Tower may seem like we need to do some delicate platforming, but that actually is not the case. These are very easy platforms to reach, as you'll see. We also have a gem thief down here, the second of 2 in the game. So what we're going to do here to clear this area quickly is, as we charge straight down the ramp here toward the Whirlwind, we're going to use the same flame charge technique that we used on the egg thief in Stone Hill on this gem thief outside the Whirlwind. As we flame him, it's going to look like he follows us to the left, but if we time it correctly, he will actually be sent over here to the right, below those 3 red gems off on the side. Now, what we're going to do as we enter the Whirlwind is hold square and right. That is going to put us directly on top of this tower, right in front of the wooden chest sitting up there. There's no need to jump off the center platform once we're up there. We are literally just holding square and right, as you'll see on the input display, and that'll put us exactly where we want to be. This is what that sequence is going to look like. So that puts us directly in front of this wooden chest, which we can just charge straight through. We'll jump over to these 3 reds, and like I said, the gem thief is directly below waiting for us. What we're going to do for this next sequence is drop down, flame him, and collect his second gem, which will send him back to where he started, right outside the Whirlwind. As we approach that next location, we are going to flame him once more and pick up that first red gem sitting there. We're going to let the 3 remaining gems fall to the ground as we enter the Whirlwind one more time, this time holding square and left to get to the opposite side. Once we've got these remaining towers cleared off, we want to head to the right and grab the few gems behind the tower, circle back around to the Whirlwind entrance, and just hold square to charge directly into Town Square. Town Square is yet another straightforward level that involves following the obvious path forward, so this is going to be pretty quick as there's really only a couple of specific things I want to touch on throughout this level. There's another egg thief here in Town Square, which we will again be using our flame charge technique that we've now seen a couple of times. As we land into Town Square here, we're going to head straight forward to get these few gems, circling back to the start, and then heading up the stairs to open these chests and rescue Mills. Coming out of the dragon animation, we want to glide over to the left, charge through these bowls, grab the chests on the right, continue up the stairs, gliding over to the area over here, rescue another dragon, smash these chests to the left, charge through the fighter and the bowl. As we climb these steps up here, it may be tempting to head forward and collect the wooden chests and continue around this area to the right, but what we're going to do instead is turn around, where you will see the egg thief up over there laughing at us. Now, the easiest way to get over there is from this top platform, obviously, but it is certainly possible and faster to glide there from lower down. You may feel comfortable from the 4th step, it's definitely accessible from the 3rd step, and it is technically possible from the 2nd step, but much more difficult. Once we are over here, be sure to get these gems right here. This green in front of us is a commonly missed one for people headed straight to the thief, so do be sure to grab this one on the way up. We once again do want to use our flame charge technique to catch this thief early. There are a couple of common mistakes here on this platform that I see all the time. One is making a point to get that green gem far off in the corner by the tunnel entrance before heading in to get the thief. Obviously, while we do want all of the gems, this can cause you to lose ground on the thief, and you have to circle around the map, which is obviously slow. I'll show you quickly here what happens when you don't get him early and lose track of him. He comes down to this area near the beginning, and the only way to trigger him to get back up here is to jump down, where you'll then be required to circle all the way back around to the stairs again. If you do have to turn around for this green gem, it's still faster than circling around the level again just to catch the thief. Ideally though, we are going to get the thief as early as possible before he enters the tunnel. As we come through the end of the tunnel, we want to make sure to get these chests to the right, again being careful not to charge off the edge, and then just follow the obvious path here around the top of the level. As we approach this next platform over here with the dragon, we'll see the first fan chest in the run. The ideal way of clearing this platform is to flame the fan chest once, charge through the 2 wooden chests, give the fan chest 2 more flames and hit the bowl with one of them, collect the gems and rescue the dragon. While that is the optimal way to clear the platform, if you're finding it difficult to get the 3 flames on the fan chest in this particular way, there are a number of other ways to clear this platform, which are not that much slower, so do what you're comfortable with. Once we have cleared this platform, we're going to jump down and straight into this next dragon. If we have a good cycle here, the bull circling the fountain will be ready for us to charge in right away. We're going to circle the vortex, don't forget the bull fighter, the bull in the corner. Grab these loose gems and the 2 bulls, and end the level with these 3 wooden chests at the stairs we used to get the egg thief. Exiting town square, all we have left to do at this point is clean up some of the gems in the homeworld. So we'll charge out of town square here, glide around the tower, charge back on through the tunnel here, and we do still need to get the 2 Gnorcs standing outside of Stone Hill here, which once we do, our gem count here in the homeworld should be at 84. Primary culprits, if you're not at 84 here, are these 2 Gnorcs up on the hill. Could be one of the gem thieves, either the one outside of Sunny Flight or the one outside of Town Square, or some of the gems that are just scattered around the Town Square area. But coming through here toward the balloonist, it's possible to get those 3 chests in one go. And as we grab these last 2 gems as we approach the dock here, that should put us at 1,000 total gems, 16 dragons, and 2 eggs, getting us 13% of the way to our 120% playthrough. Talking to Marco here, he will take us to the Peacekeeper's homeworld, which officially concludes the Artisans homeworld.